So, in case you live under a rock or blocked by the main source like I am, you might not have realized that amidst all the bickering about the canonicity of Tales of the Pizzaplex, the newest book in the series has been leaked in the background, and for a moment, people really didn't like it because it didn't do anything to solve the ongoing debate. And we're not going to stoke those flames here, we're actually going to talk about its final story, that being Dittophobia, which goes over the story of Rory, a kid who was kidnapped and woke up in the FNAF 4 house, and due to gas being leaked into the room, it caused Rory to see nightmares. Rory manages to escape, entering a place called Sea Bear, only for his friend Wade to convince him to deactivate the generator, and for a voice to interrupt when he got inside telling him he was safe, and that this was his home. We find out that this was just a message left on a cassette, in case he ever escaped again, hence the title of the story. After hearing this, we've seen this situation happen before, that being the events of FNAF 4, in which it's described that an unknown child was suffering from nightmares, which prevented us from solidly saying that we played as Michael, because the main character of FNAF 4 is very much a child, and too short to be Michael. We assume that this was the crying child, as he was the main character sprite we used throughout the minigames, and thanks to the logbook, it would be a nice loop around with the crying child forcing these nightmares onto Michael. This could still be the case, but you have to ask, could Michael have been in these experiments himself? Well, remembering that these are leaks, I'm not sure if these events take place before or after the bite of 83. If we admit that they take place before, William would have no motivation to start any of this. He just woke up one day and decided to kill Charlie and then start experimenting the same year before any MCIs, and because at this point 1985 seems to be the main decided date for this event. If we were to admit they take place after, though, then suddenly we have to change who we're playing as during FNAF 4. If we do play as Rory, which it seems to be suggested, then we have to explain how Michael would have had these nightmares. It's possible that the bite happened, then Michael was forced into this experiment first, Charlie dies, then the experiments start with this unknown child. Hell, it can even take place during 1983, causing this story to take place in 1993. But there's still some issues this story leaves regarding a certain game, that being Sister Loc. The fun times are mentioned down there, but I don't know to what extent. That could be implying that characters like Yendo or the Bitty Babs are down there, or the actual cast. Assuming that it's actually discussing the cast, we suddenly run into a lot of issues. Firstly, this doesn't affect Circus Baby's opening during 1986, so that's still possible. We also know, according to the opening of Sister Loc, that William is alive, most likely, during these events, especially since he's letting technicians and such head down into his bunker. And given I'm pretty sure Henry built Circus Baby, I don't think he would be very comfortable allowing this rental company that has a robot that was built specifically for children to continue running. As with Afton out of the picture, he most likely would be the owner of all of these franchises. We also have the issue of the dots on this map. This area has been compared to the FNAF 4 map, which would place these dots in Fredbear's. Given Freddy's doesn't reopen until 1987, and the fact that I'm pretty sure the Wither Golden Freddy costume was used in the first MCI, it would allow for the Fredbear characters to still be at the diner before being moved to FNAF 2. If this story is telling us that this takes place during 1993 or sometime after, Fredbear and Spring Bonnie very much can't be in this location, given it's either chilling in the safe room or on Will's body at the FNAF 1 location. Unless you can think of an alternative as of what the dots actually represent, there's an inconsistency here, unless, of course, Tails ends up being revealed to be a parallel. For a second I wondered if Rory could represent some other character, but I'd have to actually read the books myself to determine that. And so I wait until either Scott confirms the series canon, as a lot of people have been emailing him, and I'd just like to let you know that if you do end up emailing him, just make sure that you're doing it out of respect, and making sure that you're not sending anything hateful towards him, because at the end of the day, this isn't necessarily his fault that the community doesn't understand what's going on. It's our fault for just not being good enough to understand his series legitimately. but just make sure that you're being respectful with whatever emails that you're sending his way, because otherwise you're not going to end up getting an answer, you know? Or we'll end up seeing these events transpire during the events of Help Wanted 2 that'll finally give us a conclusion. While we're waiting, I wanted to remind you that I stream every Wednesday over on twitch.tv/sh1zuh31, and that I'm going to be playing Ruin over there soon, so I hope you'll join me. I still have plans on making my Silver Eyes being canon video, which I still believe it isn't, but it was fun to research, and I have a few missteps, but nothing a little I always come back can fix. I also think it could explain some things, but that's a story for another day. Remember that this was just a theory, and to respect others even if they disagree with you. Hate the theory, not the people, and be safe. Matane.